Welcome to Mindset Capital TV, where mindset meets money. This channel is built for thinkers, builders, and future leaders who understand that wealth starts in the mind. If you're ready to level up your thinking, your habits, and your income, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Why discipline feels impossible. You already know what you're supposed to do with money. Spend less. Save more. Be disciplined. And yet, you don't. Not consistently. Not calmly. Not without guilt. So you tell yourself a story. I just need more discipline. I'm bad at controlling myself. Other people are just stronger than me. But discipline isn't a character trait. It's not something some people are born with, and others aren't. Financial discipline is not about strength. It's about how your mind responds to pressure. Two people can earn the same income. One builds stability quietly. The other lives in constant tension. The difference is not intelligence. It's not motivation. And it's definitely not willpower. It's psychology. This documentary is about why discipline feels so hard and why the people who master it aren't fighting themselves at all. Because once you understand what discipline really is, it stops feeling like resistance and starts feeling like relief. Why most people misunderstand discipline. Most people think discipline means saying no. No to spending. No to enjoyment. No to comfort. No to impulses. That belief alone makes discipline exhausting. Because if discipline is resistance, then every decision becomes a fight. And humans don't win endless fights against themselves. This is why discipline collapses under stress. After a long day. After bad news. After pressure builds. The brain looks for relief. Not logic. Not plans. Relief. And money becomes the fastest emotional release available. This isn't weakness. It's neurobiology. Your brain is wired to reduce discomfort. Avoid pain. Seek certainty. Financial discipline fails when it's framed as denial. Because denial increases psychological pressure. Pressure always looks for an exit. Self-made individuals understand something different. Discipline is not restraint. It's structure that removes temptation. They don't rely on willpower. They remove the need for it. The real enemy of financial discipline. The real enemy of financial discipline is not desire. It's decision fatigue. Every day, you make hundreds of decisions. What to eat. What to ignore. What to respond to. What to spend on. By the time money decisions arrive, your mental energy is already depleted. So the brain defaults, not to what's best, but to what's easiest. Swipe, tap, buy, delay the thinking. This is why people with the best intentions still make undisciplined choices at night. Not because they don't care. Because discipline requires clarity. And clarity disappears when the brain is tired. Self-made individuals don't discipline decisions. They discipline environments. They reduce choices, friction, emotional triggers. Because fewer decisions mean better decisions. Why emotion, not logic, controls most money decisions. Most people believe they spend money logically. They don't. They spend emotionally and justify it logically after. Stress triggers spending. Fatigue triggers spending. Boredom triggers spending. Even success triggers spending. Money becomes a regulator of feeling. When life feels heavy, spending creates relief. When life feels empty, spending creates stimulation. This is why financial discipline collapses during emotional peaks, both high and low. Self-made individuals don't deny emotion. They design around it. They assume emotions will show up. They don't expect logic to win in those moments. So they put distance between emotion and access. Time delays. Spending friction. Clear rules decided in calm moments. This is how discipline survives pressure. The myth of strong self-control. We praise people with strong self-control. But what we're really observing is low exposure to temptation. Highly disciplined people are not constantly resisting. They've quietly removed the triggers. They don't walk past things they shouldn't buy. They don't browse places that activate desire. They don't rely on memory or mood. They rely on structure. Self-control looks heroic from the outside, but from the inside, it feels uneventful. No inner battle, no tension, no reward cycle, just routine. This is why discipline feels unnatural to people who try to force it. They're fighting fires instead of removing fuel. The invisible systems disciplined people use. Highly disciplined people don't trust themselves. They trust systems. They assume future versions of themselves will be tired, emotional, and occasionally irrational. So they design systems that work, even when they don't feel like working. Automatic transfers, pre-committed allocations, spending limits decided in advance. Money moves before emotion gets a vote. This is the critical difference. Undisciplined people make decisions in the moment. Disciplined people make decisions once and let systems repeat them. This removes friction. It removes guilt. And it removes the need to constantly be good. Discipline stops feeling like restraint when the system does the work quietly. Why discipline improves when money is boring. Most people think money should feel exciting. Wins, spending, upgrades, rewards. But excitement is the enemy of discipline. Excitement spikes emotion. Emotion demands action. Action leads to impulse. Self-made individuals aim for boring money. Predictable bills, predictable transfers, predictable routines. When money becomes boring, it stops hijacking attention. This is why disciplined people don't talk about money often. There's nothing dramatic happening, just quiet progress. The identity conflict that breaks financial discipline. Discipline doesn't usually fail because the system is bad. It fails because the identity hasn't caught up. When someone has lived undisciplined for years, their self-image adapts. I'm not good with money. I always mess this up. I'm just not disciplined. When behavior changes, but identity doesn't, the mind experiences friction. And friction looks like sabotage. A random purchase. A broken rule. A quiet justification. Not because the person wants to fail, but because the brain is trying to stay consistent with its story. Self-made individuals understand this transition phase. They don't interpret sabotage as weakness. They recognize it as identity lag. So they respond differently. They don't punish themselves. They reinforce the new identity with small wins. I'm someone who protects my future. I'm someone who plans ahead. I'm someone who recovers quickly. Identity shifts after repetition, not before it. Why guilt destroys financial discipline. Guilt feels productive. It isn't. Guilt narrows thinking. It speeds decisions. It pushes behavior underground. After a mistake, guilt says, since I already messed up, it doesn't matter. That thought does more damage than the original decision. Self-made individuals remove guilt from the system. They treat mistakes as data, not moral failures. They ask, what broke? What triggered this? What can be adjusted? Discipline survives only in neutral environments. Judgment creates pressure. Pressure creates rebellion. This is why harsh self-talk destroys consistency. Calm correction preserves it. The recovery rule that keeps discipline alive long-term. Perfect discipline doesn't exist. And chasing it is the fastest way to lose everything you built. The people who stay disciplined long-term are not the ones who never slip. They're the ones who recover quickly. One bad decision doesn't ruin them. One emotional purchase doesn't spiral. One missed transfer doesn't collapse the system. Why? Because they follow one rule. Never let a mistake turn into a pattern. They reset immediately. No punishment. No guilt. No dramatic starting over Monday. Just correction. Undisciplined people think in streaks. Disciplined people think in trends. They don't ask, did I mess up? They ask, am I still generally moving in the right direction? This removes pressure. And when pressure disappears, discipline becomes sustainable. Why disciplined people think in time horizons. One of the biggest psychological differences Between disciplined and undisciplined people is time horizon. Undisciplined decisions optimize for now. Relief now. Comfort now. Ease now. Disciplined people think in layers of time. This week. Next month. 6 months from now. A year from now. Not obsessively, but instinctively. When they make a decision, they subconsciously ask, how will future me feel about this? This shifts behavior immediately. Impulse weakens. Urgency slows. Clarity increases. Discipline becomes less about sacrifice and more about alignment with future calm. The daily behavior of financially disciplined people. From the outside, financially disciplined people don't look intense. They don't obsess. They don't micromanage. They don't talk about money constantly. Their days look normal. That's because discipline isn't something they do occasionally. It's something they default to. They check numbers briefly, not emotionally. They review spending, not obsessively. They notice patterns, not individual mistakes. Most importantly, they don't ask money to solve emotional problems. When stress appears, they rest. When boredom appears, they create. When pressure builds, they slow down. Money stays in its lane. This separation is critical. Once money stops being the emotional outlet, discipline becomes effortless. Why discipline creates freedom, not restriction. Most people think discipline limits freedom. In reality, lack of discipline does. Undisciplined money creates constant trade-offs, ongoing anxiety, limited options, reactive decisions. Disciplined money creates margin, time, choice, calm. This is the paradox. Discipline removes stress, which removes urgency, which creates freedom. Self-made individuals don't feel controlled by their systems. They feel protected by them. Because discipline isn't about saying no. It's about ensuring future you never has to panic. The one belief that makes financial discipline permanent. There is one belief that separates temporary discipline from discipline that lasts for life. It's not, I must be strict. I must never mess up. I must control everything. It's this, I can trust myself to recover. Once this belief is in place, everything changes. Discipline no longer feels fragile. A mistake no longer feels dangerous. A slip no longer feels like failure. You stop guarding your behavior with fear and start guiding it with confidence. Self-made individuals don't believe they're perfect. They believe they're resilient. And resilience is far more powerful than control. This belief removes pressure. And pressure is what breaks discipline. You were never undisciplined. You were overloaded. Most people don't lack discipline. They lack space. Too many decisions. Too much pressure. Too much noise. Too many expectations. Discipline collapses under overload. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. Once the load is reduced, fewer decisions, clear systems, neutral feedback, time to think, discipline returns naturally. This is the final truth. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to force yourself harder. You don't need more motivation. You need less weight. And once that weight is gone, financial discipline stops being something you chase and becomes something you live with quietly. Financial discipline is not force. It is clarity under calm conditions. 5 years from now, discipline won't feel like discipline. It will feel like normal. Bills won't trigger stress. Decisions won't feel urgent. Money won't demand attention. Not because you're rich, but because you're stable. You'll notice something subtle. You think slower. You choose deliberately. You don't react. There's space between impulse and action. Space between emotion and decision. Space between now and the future. That space is what discipline creates. Not restriction. Not denial. Not sacrifice. Space. And in that space, anxiety fades. Options appear. Confidence grows quietly. This is why disciplined people seem calm. They're not fighting themselves anymore. They designed a life that doesn't require it. Financial discipline isn't about controlling money. It's about creating a life that doesn't constantly test you. If this video shifted your mindset, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Remember, your mindset is your greatest asset. Protect it, build it, invest in it. This is Mindset Capital TV. We'll see you in the next one.